Hey, friends, welcome back to Unofficially Trini. I'm Dave, an American who's married to a beautiful Trini gal. And today I wanted to share with you another laugh that happened with me today. So I was talking to a few people that I know at work, and I could not believe my ears. Did you know that some Americans actually have the wildest ideas about the Trini lifestyle and what Trinis do every day? For example, one of my friends, when we were talking, he thought that there was a person on every street corner playing steel pan music. I'm like, what? Look now. Steel pan is mostly played at special events, not your typical morning walk. So that's one thing. Another friend of mine, he said that every Trini meal is so spicy it burns my tongue, and I'm like, what? So hear what? You like my little Trini slangs there? Um, Trinis enjoy spice, but it's not a daily daredevil challenge. I mean, the food, yes, it's a little bit spicy, but it's not so hot that it burns your tongue off. Come on now. Another guy, right? I'm talking to him, and he says that he thought that every Trini seems to like wake up on the beach with a coconut water in their hand, watching the waves crash. I told my wife this one, and she said, hey, some of us actually have jobs. So, some of the things that people think of. But he also thought that that everybody like kind of is like sitting around with drinks, rum punch in their hand, and they're eating mangoes all day long. But look, in reality, most people eat regular meals and drink cocktails mostly on weekends. It's not a party every single day when you wake up until you go to sleep. Just some of these things that you hear, it's so funny, and that's why I'm doing this channel, because I'm trying to bring awareness to people. So look, another friend of mine, we're talking, and he asked me what the weather was like in Trinidad. And I said, and so I asked him, I said, well, what do you think the weather's like? And he said, well, I imagine, it's sunny, it's really hot, there's palm trees, so pretty close so far. And I said, well, how hot do you think it is? And he goes, oh, it's probably about 80 degrees. So I know that in Trinidad you really use Celsius. So 80 degrees, just to give you an idea, is about 27 degrees Celsius. We all know that it's not 27 degrees Celsius. Maybe like up in the mountains somewhere it might get like that sometimes, but most of the time it's about 32 degrees, which is around 90. 32 degrees Celsius, which is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Pretty much day in and day out, right? But I think what they forget is it rains, you have wind, and sometimes, up in the mountains, it does get cool. I'll tell you one of the things that I thought was, funny to me, as an American, and you've all heard me talk about, the cold weather and everything and how cold it gets in America. I remember the first time I went to Trinidad, and to me, I'm just sitting there and I'm sweating, but I seen people with like sweaters on, and I'm like, wow, yeah, they must really be cold. Yeah, so yes, the weather gets hot, but you know, yes, we also have some, some cold, some cool weathers. And I wouldn't say really cold, but it gets cool. It's rainy, it's windy, a little bit of everything, right? I also heard that some Americans picture like all this wildlife in Trinidad. There are some wildlife, right? There's some, but I'm talking to this one guy, and he says, there's like, are there like monkeys and crocodiles and stuff? Look, most of those, they're there, but they're in nature preserves and zoos. They're not in the front yard. I have seen some parrots and iguanas at my mother-in-law's place. So yeah, you'll see some wildlife periodically, but not like you would expect to see every single day, like just roaming around down the streets of Port of Spain. So apparently, every local, right? This is another one. Apparently, every local can just walk to the beach. because right, everybody lives on it's a tropical island. So I think in their mind they think, hey, the beach is like right outside my door. I can just walk to the beach. There are some people in Trinidad that could probably do that, but it depends where you live, right? Sometimes it's 30 minutes away, driving, and sometimes it's a little closer, just like here. But for the most part, I would say that most people don't live right on the beach. How about this one? Some people think that there's one Caribbean accent. So I'm going to confess, I I've been um, I've been a part. I would say not really a part of the Trinidad culture, but I've been a student of the Trinidad culture for a long time now. I don't know everything. I still have a lot to learn, and I'm learning something new every day. And that's the other thing I really love about this channel. But I'm going to confess that I thought this too, and to this day, it's easier for me to explain it to people that way because they don't understand. Like, and I don't do a really good Trinidad accent. I can't do it. I know a lot of the slang, but I'm just not really good at it. So anyway, the the Caribbean is really diverse, right? And you have English speakers, you have Spanish speaking people, you have French influence, Dutch, Creole, Patois. You have a lot of different dialects and a lot of different types of accents. But I'll tell you, like getting back to what I was saying before, if I'm trying to explain that to a friend of mine, like somebody who's from America who has no idea about Trinidad, for me, it's easier to say, just imagine like a Jamaican accent, and they kind of get it. To most people who don't know Trinidadian accents, to an American, they sound kind of similar, if that makes sense. Um, Now that I've been married to my wife for quite a while, um, I know the difference right away. I can pick it up immediately. But I would say that most Americans probably can't. So that's something that I think is really funny to hear because I thought the same thing in the beginning. I ain't gonna lie. When an American hears that Trinidad is the southernmost Caribbean island, right? And I learned this too. They assume that every Caribbean home comes with a view of the ocean and a hammock outside. Well, look, most people. Let me debunk this one for you too. Most people in Trinidad live in normal houses, normal towns, or suburbs, and it's really no different than anywhere else in the world except, well, it's beautiful, right? There it is a tropical paradise. However, Port of Spain is a bustling city just like any other city. If you live inland and you're not on the beach, it really feels just like anywhere else. But the closer you get to the ocean, the sea, you have the palm trees and everything, and it really does feel like a tropical paradise. But from an American standpoint, I can see how they would think that because yes, you hear southernmost Caribbean island, and that's the first thing you think of. So, also, let me give you another one. Some Americans think that Trinis are in carnival mode every single day. Feathers, music, dancing, 24/7, or they're out dancing, partying, liming, having a good old time. Well, that's mostly true. No, I'm just kidding. It's not mostly true. Carnival is seasonal. Most days are just errands, work, school, doing laundry, just like everybody else. It's really, we are so similar, and I think that that's one of the reasons why when Americans go to Trinidad, yes, it's a vacation, and to us it's a paradise, but it's easy for us to become acclimated to that type of a lifestyle. Just like when a Trini would come to America, they probably think, "Oh, this hustle and bustle, I can't wait to get back home." But it is something different, and it's exciting, and you're seeing a lot of new things. But the cultures do have a lot of similarities, so it does feel really comfortable for Trinis to come here and for us to go there. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of those things that Trinis think. I mean, that Americans think about Trinis. Geez, it's just so crazy when you hear some of these things. Did any of these surprise you? Don't forget to subscribe and comment below. Welcome to Unofficially Trini, and you all have a great night. Thanks for listening.